Holy, I'm a mother effing T-Rex, Batman! Tiki here, and I'm watching through Batman, the animated series, for the first time. And, well, golly gee willikers, what do you know? It's another Season 4 episode that hardly anyone talks about, that has some pretty interesting, arguably ahead of its time things to say, that I'm genuinely quite fond of. Dragon, you know what? This is why I like this show, so tell them why we're here.
Yes, folks, I'll tell you why we're here. Long ago...
Dragon's on set in Gotham City, folks. Go ahead, Dragon, sorry.
Long ago, I made a vow about educate Tiki in the ways of Batman the Animated Series, serving as his spirit guide to Gotham, in a way.
Oh, God. That's right. And what episode are we talking about tonight, Dragon? I got so caught up in the Critters thing that I forgot the name of this episode. I'm so sorry. I know, right? I'm great. I'm awesome.
Mean Seasons.
Mean Seasons. Okay. So, yeah, Dragon, as I alluded to, surprisingly, I don't know what to tell you, man. I kind of dug this one. I really did. I mean, I'm interested to know, Dragon, because you know me, and, I just turned 30, of course. Big running joke throughout pretty much the past couple years on the podcast was like, oh my god, Tiki's getting old, and Tiki's afraid of getting old. And so, Dragon, I'm curious to know, were you interested in my take on this episode, given that?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of tired of your belly aching about the age change, so, I kind of tried to temper that, but outside of that, I mean, I guess I was a little intrigued, yeah.
Yeah, so I gotta say that, that definitely got me, for sure. I think my favorite part of this episode, beyond just, I gotta tell you, Dragon, Paige Monroe is a villain. I'm digging the design. I'm digging the Twilight Zone twist that I saw coming a mile away, but still was executed really well with her in the end with the mask. She's overall, frankly, a way better character than I thought she'd be when I read the premise of this episode. But Dragon, my favorite thing about this episode is how it ties back into Bruce Wayne. And, we get Barbara Gordon, of all characters, pointing out how old Bruce is getting, and that's not uncomfortable at all. But I'm just realizing that now. I'm literally just realizing that now. But, I don't know. I just think it's neat to see the corporate side of, of Wayne Enterprises. I dig the pilots that we get, the fake commercials for the pilots in this episode. I did kind of like the cars and stuff like that. So I gotta tell you, Dragon, this is like outside of, I got to admit, some pretty rough looking animation in some spots. I like this one quite a bit. I was surprised by it. I feel like I was pleasantly surprised to keep the ball rolling with this this trend that we've been having of the season 4 episodes that don't get a lot of attention that I genuinely kind of dig. All right.
All right, a little bit of context. So this is directed by Hiroyuki Ayama. One of TMS's top guys, who actually took on a big sequence from Batman Beyond Return of the Joker. So yeah, big old
sequence.
No, not these sequence. Just like an action, a really cool action. Well, here's the thing: this guy took on a sequence that's inspired by Akira, so it was a really cool sequence.
Oh, gotcha.
But not like more in the future, not the sequence, but
yeah.
Also did like some Superman the Animated Series episodes, including one of my favorites, Ghost in the Machine, which is a really great Lex Luthor episode. Right. The writer on this, so we had Rich Fogel, who did Sins of the Father, along with Hilary J. Bader, who did You Scratch My Back and Cold Comfort.
Okay.
All right, studio worked on this again per the director, the wonderful TMS. Oh boy, I love it when TMS is in the house. I mean, one rung under Spectrum, man. It's TMS, and I know Dong Yang's the house studio, man, back in its glory day, but TMS was like that's the cutting edge. I mean, this season they did Never Fear, The Growing Pains, of course, famously Feet of Clay. So TMS, quality work.
It's
So
funny you mentioned that because, like I said, I wasn't particularly impressed with the animation this episode.
yeah, well, I mean, not everyone can have like a growing pains episode. It can't be like we have the shapeshifter in this
No, no,
episode.
of course. Yeah, I'm just there's just nothing that really kind of stuck. Like, if anything, like I said, if anything, the timing of some of the stuff was a little wonky for me. But we'll get there
I
with
mean, you
some
look
of
at some
it.
of the effects. That's where TMS really shined, like some like the exploding
Of course.
Easter eggs and stuff. I mean, those look gorgeous. But
Sure.
anyway, so basically, the origin for how we get this episode. So they were searching for some other bat foes that hadn't been done yet in the animated series, and Fogel, he's kind of sifted through the old tomes of Batman and happened upon Calendar Man. But viewed Calendar Man as kind of a passe Riddler gimmick. Basically, kind of Riddler by another name. Okay, he's obsessed with calendars. This guy. So here's the interesting thing. So if I'm correct, it's kind of hard to pin this down exactly. I want to say, see, Long Halloween, the big story, was happening. I want to say concurrently with New Adventures, as in like it started not it. Long Halloween, takes place over the course of a year, so it would have been coming out at '97, if I recall. So
Oh, I didn't
'96.
realize Long Halloween was that recent. Huh.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Again, it was a little inspired by.
Yeah.
It was somewhat inspired by the animated series
For
to
some
take on.
reason, I always assumed Long Halloween came out in the '80s. I don't know why.
I don't know. You're probably thinking like year one or something,
Probably, yeah.
but yeah. So yeah, Long Halloween was like I'm pretty sure it was '97. It could have been '96 at the earliest. But of course, this kind of takes place throughout the year, and this the New Adventures really happens in kind of that kind of the '97, '98 vein. So the point being, it's a question of when they're working on, if they kind of predated it by, again, it's like a narrow margin is what I'm saying. By the time they're working on this and they're figuring it out, 'cause it's like a
Yeah.
9-month process. So the point being, there is a good chance they were unaware of that Rich Fogel was unaware of the really cool stuff happening with Calendar Man, because that's when they reinvented him like Hannibal Lecter, which is really awesome.
Of course.
So basically, Calendar Man, really classically, he's really kind of a silly, he's from he's the '60s here, like, oh, he's obsessed with dates and calendar pages. He's got a big old calendar cape. Versus like the really cool, like is like a killer who kills on holidays, which might have been more interesting, but again, probably kind of looked over at this point in time, or just really fresh, like too fresh and too new. All right, so this led him to kind of, okay, how can I rework this and kind of revamp this idea? So, okay, pitched like, what if it was a girl, and we kind of tie it into a thing that was really prevalent in the '90s, the supermodel craze of the '90s, and the big youth movement, and the women in Hollywood and the modeling agent in the modeling kind of business. They were really kind of really challenged once they kind of broke 30.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, what if we took those struggles, put into this character, and kind of tied like the calendar seasons kind of model thing of it all there. Fogel, he did. So Fogel, he did the outline on this. He did the outline on this, but he was kind of taken off of it because he was working with Paul Dini on Superman the Animated Series. Because at this time in the DCA, you had roughly 3 shows going on. You had New Adventures, you had Superman, and you had Batman Beyond. I want to say was in development at this time. Like, it wasn't airing, but it was in development. So you had like 3 shows kind of going on right now, which is kind of crazy. So they had to pull him off the episode. That's where Hilary J. Bader comes into the fray. And Dini had a couple ideas for this, but interestingly, before we move on to the episode, Paul Dini, he pitched Calendar Man, just traditional Calendar Man, and his take was going to be, I don't know if it was as far back as the animated series he was pitching Calendar Man, but his original pitch was, let's do him, but have Matt Frewer. Remember Sid the Squid?
Yes.
Let's have the voice of Sid the Squid, do kind of do a fun take on the Calendar Man, which could have been awesome. I kind of really wanted to see that. Because for me, in this episode, I keep flip-flopping on this episode, because traditionally I never liked it. I just never did. But,
Okay.
I mean, years later, you look back on, I found a lot of redeeming qualities. I don't know, I keep going back and forth on it. Some elements don't wow me, certain elements really wow me, and like, maybe it's better than I thought it was. I don't know, we'll see see how I feel by the end of this, I guess. So all that said, let's dive into it.
All right, so yeah,
terribly sorry. I just want to make a note. We hit a milestone, Tiki.
we did.
Yes, we have covered this. We passed 100 episodes on the animated Batcave.
Oh, okay. Is
So
this like? Does that include like Phantasm?
that's including the two movies and World's Finest. So they're basically we
Okay,
haven't hit the
okay.
100th episode, but we've hit we have covered there are 100 episodes of the animated Batcave.
So
So
this is number 100 of animated Batcave.
Oh, this is 101. Like over the edge, very appropriately was our 100th episode, which is awesome.
That's it. Did you plan on that?
No, I didn't plan on that specifically. That was just the happiest accident ever.
Wow,
But,
that's great.
yeah, because I just kind of went back and I wanted to check. I wonder, because we're getting up there, because at the original animated series marks off at 85, and then there's the movies and everything that we've kind of covered in the interim. Yeah, okay, so yeah, big milestone. Yay, party balloons. Okay, let's do it.
All right, let's see. So yeah, we start on the runway. We've got some very young, attractive-looking models modeling the latest fashions from the Donna Spring, or I'm sorry, the Donna Day. I'm getting my seasons mixed up here. The Donna Day Spring Formal Collection or something like that.
Yes. So again, we're in kind of the season of spring essentially right now. We're doing kind of this. We're showing the spring collection at a fashion show. By the way, fun fact: Tippi Hedren, from the Birds, she's Donna Day.
Okay.
So she's stressing the youthfulness of the line, which is really big. And we have this older woman in the crowd, just like remarking, "Oh, I have to buy one." Their husbands like, "This is for who?"
What for?
Just gets whacked like, "Bam! What did I do?" So a lot of name gags here, by the way. Like the models are all like there's the models named April, and then of course Donna Day. Which, by the way, parenthetically, I really wish Calendar Girl's real name was Donna Day because Calendar Man's real name is Julian Day. Why couldn't we have just I don't know if it's a misdirect or what, but it just feels like, come on, let's call Calendar Girl Donna Day. At least if we're gonna change her, give her a name that's similar. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
All right, so we get we get the entrance of the Calendar Woman.
Calendar Girl, yes.
Calendar Girl, I'm sorry.
It's all about the youth, Tiki. So
yes, of course, right.
So, beware the Ides of March, and she was like this Easter egg.
I like the background chatter. It's just like the Ides of March. What?
Good old Walla. So I love like the weaponry I love Calendar Girl's weaponry most. I love like he has like the Easter egg. She has the Easter egg smoke bombs and like the ribbon bombs as she kidnaps Donna Day, and we've got a date with Destiny, and then she leaves a clue with the little with her. I like that she has a signature. She leaves like her signature clue here, which is a calendar page with a date circled, which is going to have great significance once we do our detective work later. So April 3rd has been circled.
Can I also just point out the fact that her henchmen are pretty much literally just Chippendales dancers?
Yes, so we have yes, we have the Chippendale henchmen.
I'm not knocking it. I'm not knocking it because it fits in with the youth theme.
I mean, I'm kind of knocking it though. It's kind of a weird idea. I mean, like. Why? It's like I can't. It's kind of hard to take seriously. Okay, so the other thing with this episode too is this episode is very much in the vein of kind of what Batman the Animated Series has done many a time. It's kind of the more serious. It's kind of a '60s Batman plot, but with an edge,
But I dig that though,
that's fine. I have no problem, no compunction with that. But I'm just saying it's kind of hard for me to take that in mind. It's hard for me to take serious the Chippendale dancers. I don't know.
I mean, the thing about it is, I'm not really like. I don't necessarily think they're supposed to be taken seriously. I think it's just Paige herself that's supposed to be taken seriously. So, like, I kind of like the blend of, like, kind of the over-the-top henchman mixed with the, the serious villain, the serious antagonist. I don't know, though. It's a subjective thing.
Okay, so who's on the case, Tiki?
Batman, of course.
Well, no, before Batman, who's the cop on the case?
Bullock?
Yeah. We got some fun Bullock things here. Bullock dealing with the press, a little bit of exposition about the calendar page instead of a ransom. Basically explaining to the folks, you're just kidnapping these people and no ransom. It's a revenge motive.
Mm-hmm.
Calendar girl's days are numbered, says Bullock. All right. So we're at Wayne Enterprises. Now, this is my favorite part of the episode. Here's the thing, my favorite part of the episode is the subplot with Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
So Lucius is leaving Bruce Wayne the specs from Wayne Motors, which is going to tie into our next Calendar Girl set piece. Call me after the auto show. But I love this. I love that Batman is a little distracted by Calendar Girl, like the newspaper, getting classically. Okay, I'm thinking about what Batman's going to be doing later, not what Bruce Wayne's trivial thing is going to be this week. But Lucius Fox gives him a heads up about one of the employees at Wayne Enterprises, about good old Bernie Benson.
Yeah, and so this is kind of, like I said, I like that the Bruce Wayne stuff, like, very directly starts to tie into the theme of, like, aging and Bruce feeling like he's getting older, the whole thing of retiring at 65 being mandatory, which I think is BS, if you ask me.
It is, and it used to be a lot more prevalent. I mean, I like to think, again, given some people we're going to be talking about soon, the whole forced retirement at 65 angle. I mean, I like to think that policy's been a little retired these days. But
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, of course, I always love that Bruce Wayne, because he's so focused on what he does after business hours. Like, I thought he was younger. It's like, I love this is kind of a surprise to the world's greatest detective, you know? Well, sooner or later, we all start touching up the gray. And then we have this moment always stuck with me. And this is why I've always loved the subplot. Just like these little moment of, like, a moment of vanity for Batman is so rare, where he's, like, checking the sideburns. Like, do I have any, like, Doctor Strange gray coming in here? Like, you read Richard's gray. Like, what's, you know? It's just, part of me wishes that was more of the focus, because I just love Batman confronting a problem that he can't fight. And this kind of there's a great episode of Batman Beyond where exploring and the idea of Bruce really having trouble with himself getting older, which of course you can imagine they do a lot in Batman Beyond.
Sure, of course.
Like how
it's a nice little predecessor. It's kind of like laying the little stepping stones towards that.
Just think about it. Batman's never planned on. Like Batman plans on dying young. He's never really thought about dying of old age. You know.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So nice transition, by the way, as we look as he's like checking the reflection to was checking his sideburns to the reflection in the car as Alfred's talking to him.
Mm-hmm.
And again, because we're stuck with the models to streamline everything, we can't put Alfred in his awesome little limo driver outfit. just using the Alfred model. Anyway, many rants, kids. Sorry. So there's a Bruce Wayne's about to be dropped off, but there's a problem. Something's amiss.
I like how cheesed Alfred gets at this.
Yep. Alfred's upset that someone's blocking the drive.
It's like you rarely see Alfred get flustered, but this is one of those times.
Oh yeah. So he's upset over this van taking up all these spaces. Which means, thankfully, Batman, Bruce, as he passes by, he notices the Chippendale goon.
just tightening his bow tie, just fixing his bow tie.
Yep, and then
I love that this guy he looks dapper, Dragon. He looks like he's he's ready to commit a crime, but he's also ready to look good doing it.
Yep. The Bruce is saying, well, just as well, you need to be dropped off somewhere more private. And Alfred's like, I love Alfred without missing a beat. He gets it, like, right? Very good, sir. It's like, yes. Oh, man, Alfred's so awesome. All right. Put that little bumper sticker. Alfred's awesome. All right. Gotham Motors.
Okay, so this I like. I like both of the Gotham, expo scenes. Just because they feel very Epcot-y, Dragon.
Oh, they do, especially this one when you think about it.
This one feels very test track, which I appreciated.
Okay, so we moved on from spring to summer as Gotham Motors at the kind of the auto show is debuting the new summer model. We have Barkley James, the big boss of Gotham Motors. By the way, little celebrity cameo. Dennis Haybert, the car insurance guy, the Allstate insurance guy.
Oh, okay, right. Oh my God.
Yeah, I like that he's a bit of a showman. He's kind of like.
Was he doing the Allstate commercials back then?
I mean, have they gone back to the '90s with that, or was it the 2000s? 2000s when we started. Can you remember?
I want to say it was the 2000s, honestly.
Yeah, probably not. Probably.
But I think that's funny though, that like here he is like introducing cars and stuff, and then years later he'd be like the Allstate thing would arguably just define his career.
Yeah. Seriously, Dennis Haysbert rocks. And by the way, he has a big role in Lucifer coming up, so I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
Nice.
All right. So anyway, so they're debuting the Solstice model summer car with Miss Solstice.
By the way, I like that name for a car. Just it feels like just pretentious enough to work.
It calls to mind
Solstice.
Yeah. So things are heating up for you too. Barkley says a voice off screen as we reveal Ezreal Calendar Girl with the 4th of July chic, and basically they're all dressed for 4th of July. These Uncle Sam hats and red, white, and blue banners and everything. Her and the Chippendale dancer thugs.
Oh my god.
So we have some really cool TMS animation with the fireworks flash.
Yeah. That's probably the most impressive animation in the episode, I'd say.
Yeah, like the Uncle Sam hats are like these little flashbang bombs, essentially, kind of basically distracting the crowd and scattering the crowd as they can make their way to the stage to capture Barkley.
Yeah.
Then there's an interesting bit there's a nice bit with Miss Solstice as she grabs Solstice. Please, I'm too young to die. I mean, you're never too thin. And you're never too young.
Yeah, just once again, just kind of like, the age thing is just kind of all over the episode, which I appreciate.
Absolutely. So enter Batman with I love it when he does this anytime, when Batman he just appears, let her go. It's like, yeah, that's my guy right there. It's always like the let her go, let him go. Yes. So Batman enters. So of course, says, hey, I have no quarrel with her. Just lets her go. Let's go. She has what she came for, as we reveal. Them kidnapping Barkley. So Batman grapples in pursuit. Then one of the thugs chucks a bomb at him. A bomb at the line, which breaks. Batman has he then lunges at Batman. Which then we have a lot of painful hits in this fight. By the way.
Okay, I'm gonna point out the biggest weird piece of animation in the episode for me, which is when the blonde Chippendale guy gets knocked onto the car and the
hood comes down.
Yeah, the hood comes down. The animation on the hood coming down, Drake, it's literally just like one frame the hood is up and then another frame the hood is down.
Well, I mean, it barely just kind of slams down there. It's just kind of like a little maybe a little too brutal.
I don't know, Dre. It's like one of those weird things where it's like you and I have had this kind of thing before, where there's certain animation beats that kind of just get to me and get to you in different ways. Like you've certainly had moments where you're very bothered by a piece of animation. I'm just like, I don't bother. It doesn't bother me. But
and now you've seen what it's like.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. For some reason, it just like I said, it just very much just looks like, okay, frame one, the hood is open. Frame 2, hood is closed. Anyways.
Anyway, so we have some really cool, we have a few cool TMS kind of bits in the animation here where, this thug is, on a motorcycle trying to escape and attack.
By the way, I really like the fact that this action scene just utilizes all these cars very well.
I know. It's awesome. Batman, basically, this guy on a motorcycle is coming towards Batman, which, if you saw Mask of the Phantasm, you know it's never a good idea. Don't attack Batman on a motorcycle. It's not going to end well for you. So he comes at Batman, he basically pulls out the car doors, basically sends the guy flipping. Oh god, which is
trying to spoil my summer fun.
Yep. The Calendar Girl, she's using these firework fingertips as kind of like flares, like on a helicopter or something on Batman, which basically allows her the opportunity to escape. See you and fall, Batman. Again, a little tease of her. Again, her revenge is not done. Again, there are 4 seasons. She's going through the gambit. Leaves a page, a little calendar page, August 7th. Again, a summer month. And we have the dramatic Batman 66 plot in play.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, by the way, so I just want to get it in there. Calendar Girl's voice, fun story. Celia Ward does the voice of Calendar Girl. Now, Celia Ward was really known for protesting the youth focus in Hollywood. She was a real staunch defender of women being kind of boxed, in Hollywood being boxed into whole like at a certain age they stop getting roles, they stop getting work, they kind of get axed unofficially. So she was they really
What the really bogus thing about that is, Dragon, to me, is that like when you think about it, I feel like acting is like it's one of the things where you wouldn't want to put age barriers around it because the more diverse group of ages that you have acting, the more diverse characters you can have in terms of the age ranges. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
So,
I mean,
so it's like to me, it's just a bonkers concept to think like, oh, you're 30 now. Now you're not the young. No, it's like you might not be the the young new hotness anymore. But that doesn't mean you still don't have talent, anyways. I don't know. I've always found that very weird.
yeah,
That
yeah. I
whole
mean, I think the industry is kind of starting to move past that now because you look like Frances McDormand. She's getting some,
man.
she's getting these big roles these days.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I mean, Jesus, the industry was just a hot mess back. I've been doing way too much of a deep dive into Nickelodeon and Dragon. It's just, it's not good. I can never look at Nickelodeon the same way again. Dragon.
Let's move past the heartbreak. Let's.
I'm sorry. I'm just like I don't know if I'll ever be able to do a glowing retrospective on Nickelodeon again. Honestly, oh man.
Well, I mean, you're referring mostly to live action, right?
I mean, yes, but still, it's just the company as a whole. Just it's icky, anyways. Anyways, happier times, 2021,
Okay,
yay.
So Batgirl, she's putting her Oracle skills to the test. And this is a really nice bit for her. Again, we're getting some of the Oracle magic in there. As she's using the Bat computer to cross-reference in some good old detective work here, she's cross-referencing the dates that were left at the crime scenes to find the common link between the targets and the dates, which leads to Paige Monroe.
Yep.
Calendar page. You get it? It's a calendar page.
You know what's sad is that I actually didn't get that until you pointed it out.
I mean, still, for me, it's just not as great as Donna. Donna Day would have been the perfect name.
Yeah.
So, okay, so Batman recognizes her. So again, this lady must have been everywhere because Batman hardly gets out. I mean, outside, outside Bruce Wayne's kind of living up the town. I mean, usually, Batman's always kind of, his mind's somewhere else.
I mean, Bruce Wayne, he probably dated this girl at some point. Honestly.
Okay, so we learn she was a big model. She was a big model, and she was employed by a lot of companies, including, let me guess, Gotham Motors and Donna Day. Yep. Oh. Good old perceptive Batman. They both dropped her for the youth-oriented campaigns of the 90s, essentially, on the 3rd and on the 7th. And we have this bit here where Batman's like saying, pretty girl. Yeah, he remembers her. Pretty girl. Which then leads to a little bit of a jealous Batgirl right there. A little bit of a snarky Batgirl.
Yeah, it's Batgirl specifically pointing out how old Bruce is, which, like I said, yikes.
Yeah, it's creeping in there.
Mean, Dragon, like, it's sad. I don't want to look at everything that Batgirl says to Batman under a microscope, but I kind of have to.
Well, Tiki, it's not going to get as bad as it gets in Mystery of the Batwoman. I'll tell you that much. You're going to have the cringiest moment there.
Oh God! All right.
The cringiest in the DCAU. I'm not talking about anything else. In the DCA, that's as cringy as it gets. The moment, the moment in that movie.
No,
honestly, for you, I think the movie in total, but I'm just saying with Batgirl specifically, there's a cringy moment. We'll cross that bridge. Well, that's after we get through New Adventure. So, anyway. Okay, so after the pretty girl, don't you mean woman? She was your age in that commercial, Bat Boy. Okay, so then, Tiki. I'm sure you perked up at this bit.
God, what?
So then we visit her agent, which is Irv, the sleazy agent, Irv Kleinman.
Oh yeah, right. Oh my God, I forgot all about Irv. But yes, you're right.
That was Irv.
Yeah, and I mean you're right. It is very much just Here's the thing, Dragon. It's like he doesn't have as big of a role in the episode as I was expecting, given your hype around him. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, this guy is very much just kind of like the prototypical Harvey Weinstein, just scumbag Hollywood type.
Yeah. Also, a fun fact, named after Rich Vogel's agent. Now, I don't know if that's a
Oh,
he didn't say
no.
whether that was a
Oh,
compliment or
God.
not, but I mean, he named him her. So, it's a little forget-me-not from Rich Vogel.
Oh, gee, thanks, Rich.
Good. Okay, so we have this promising young client, potential client, I guess.
Young woman, you might say.
Sure.
Sorry.
Anyways, we have this promising young woman, if you will. Basically, they have the sleazy agent trying to offering her a part because the director owes him big. So again, this is such nowadays is such a refreshing moment where it's like, don't you wish Batman could interrupt all these sleazy Hollywood moments like he does here.
Oh yeah, this is about as much of a catharsis as I'm ever gonna get to like Batman just beating the shit out of Dan Schneider.
Well, pretty much, yeah. So, anyways, of course, Kleinman's making his sleazy moves, and it's as sleazy as it gets, guys. I mean, again, on Kids WB as well, it gets real sleazy and implicit. So, thankfully, so Batman shows up and he says, "Hey, costumes is a different room." And of course, this is the fact this guy's an idiot too. He doesn't realize, oh God, that's Batman. I should stop.
Right.
He tells Batman to get lost, that he's in a meeting, and then we have this awesome moment where Batman just grabs him and he does the thing where he puts him against a wall and he says, "Meeting's been canceled." Like, yes, like put that on a poster, make that.
But I think Batgirl steals the scene though when she's just like, "I'd run if I were you."
Yeah, it's great.
And this time she's just kind of like cocked up against that wall, just like all confident, like, "Yeah, I saved her."
Yeah. That's a feel good moment if I've ever.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so they're asking about Paige, and then we learn the Heartless Agent. Basically, we have the Heartless Agent's exposition. Or I love how sleazy. By the way, so the same guy who does the voice of Bernie Benson does the voice of this guy, but it's so night and day, isn't it?
Right.
This guy, he's just so sleazy and slimy. He's just like, I can't put in the words. Like, the way he sounds just sounds silly. He's like a hollow man on the inside, you know.
And not the Kevin Bacon one.
No. It's like, what do you want? She turned 30. What are you gonna do? And it's like, what do you say? I just basically he goes into exposition that he didn't just dump her. He landed her a sitcom. Basically, it's the sad tale we've all seen. Probably lasted for a season, possibly a pilot, but maybe a season. But the network wanted a younger demographic, so they axed it. Then she dropped out of sight after that. But then there were rumors. So we had rumors that she really emphasizes rumors. So there were rumors. She got plastic surgery, and the guy nipped when he should have tucked. It gives like such a sleazy laugh. I'm sorry to be lingering on it, but we only have so much time with Irv, so that's all we get.
Now, Dragon, I'm going to say right now, as soon as we got kind of like the build up to the mystery of what's behind the mask, I pretty much called what they were going to do. But I was like, okay, like if they do in fact go in that direction, which they did, I'm going to be very satisfied because this is like an old school like Twilight Zone twist, like kind of like the beauty and ugliness is in the eye of the beholder type of deal. So the whole time watching this episode after this moment, I was kind of like watching it with that in mind, kind of expecting that to be the reveal. So I got to say that really added to this episode, just kind of that whole that duality of the mask.
You got an interesting story on that mask once we get to the unmasking. I think you're going to like it.
Okay.
All right, so we're at the Faces Club. Probably the source of the Chippendale guys, if I'm being frank. I think they were working at this club, and then that's how she found them.
Oh my god, I just want a whole like mini series about the Chippendale goons.
I actually have details on something that's kind of implied with the Chippendale.
Oh no! Oh god! What?
All right, so Donna. Okay, so the Chip and Dale. Well, I'm gonna hold off on. We're getting there real soon.
Okay, fair enough.
So Donna Day and Barkley James are being held here, and they're pathetically trying to bribe said Chip and Dale guys.
They are kind of like the worst negotiators ever, man.
Yep. Trying to bargain with the henchmen of the kidnapper. Like, I can give you money. I can give you cars. You know what I want? What? Quiet! It says it so weirdly. I mean, imagine if Johnny Lawrence took lessons from this guy.
Oh god, Dragon! Watching Cobra Kai back, like every time Johnny Lawrence does the quiet thing, I kind of have to repeat it just on reflex. I love his delivery of it.
It's a lot of fun, especially after the whole like quiet,
Quiet.
make me look bad.
Oh
right.
god! If we were to ever have him on the podcast, you know, in some weird world where that actually happened. That would be like my number one bucket list thing would be to have him like, you know, like interrupt us and be like, quiet!
Well, we know what our opening's going to be if we ever get Billy Zap on.
Right.
And interrupt the introduction. Okay, anyway. So, Tiki here and Blue Dragon. Quiet! Billy Zap is here.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
Oh god, now we're just pipe dreaming.
Anyway, so after all, quiet! The boss is thinking.
God.
All right, so then we have the money shot.
Really weird verbal delivery.
Yep, so then we have this money shot here. I love how this shot looks, man. TMS rendered this beautifully. In the dark room, in the silhouette, we have Calendar Girl with the mask off, which, by the way, I do like the Calendar Girl's design is really interesting, because I like that we gave her, like, remember Jack Napier's girlfriend in Batman 89, the one we gave, like, the little mask to? Yes,
vaguely.
Kind of like an homage to that. Remember little Alice, like, she jumped out a window and smashed, I can't make an omelet breaking a few eggs. So a little bit of that, and like the really streamlined outfits, all seasonally colored per crime.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so again, she's kind of looking in the mirror. Then one of the henchmen kind of bust in, like as she's looking in the mirror, which she does not want them to see her without the mask. He says, basically throws one of the Easter egg bombs at him, like, "Hey, don't." You know, basically no one sees my face, that sort of thing.
I mean, you can tell it's like a very traumatic thing for her, Dragon, which I love the build-up, because, like I said, I pretty much knew where this was headed in terms of, like, I figured that she'd get apprehended, they'd have to take off the mask, and then it'd be like one of those things where, you know, like, she can't, we'll get there, but the ending is pretty haunting in that way, and
no one is allowed to see my face. No one.
Yeah. They lay some solid groundwork for that.
That they do. So, the goons, as she walks in, about to give the next stage of the plan, you know, the goons are kind of catcalling her and everything, and basically that kind of fills in the relationship there, is that she likes having around because, you know, they are attracted to her, you know, they're catcalling her, they're trying to making her feel pretty and everything. They're trying to cheer her up, essentially, which is kind of, you know, it's kind of nice. And now here's the dark implication that was confirmed, that the implication is this, even though they can't get into it on one of the few things they can't get into on kids TV, on kids WB. The implication is that she's paying these guys not in cash but in sexual favors.
Damn.
I know, creepy, right?
That is you. Yikes.
Yeah, that was again, apparently according to the writers, that's kind of the
I mean, that adds like a whole new layer to the whole like Hollywood sleaziness thing, right?
Yeah, but again, it's sleazy, but by the same token, I mean, she's again, I think she's enjoying it because she wants it takes something that horrible to make her feel pretty, make her feel good about herself. So as we're gonna find out,
okay, that just makes me like appreciate this episode even more, honestly.
I know, that's the thing. When you find out things like that, it kind of makes you know, maybe this episode has more to it.
Dragon, I really think this is another hidden gem. I really do. I'm kind of like planting my flag for this episode at this point.
I keep coming around on it. I don't know. I keep coming around. Okay. Anyway, so
okay, this next scene is like by far the funnest scene in the episode, Dragon. I had a ball with these fake pilots.
Okay, I gotta be honest though, the one thing I do have to call out the episode on didn't get better on the rewatch. Like after her line transitioning to the scene, another season, another reason for making trouble. It's like that's really shabby.
That
Kiki,
is
let me
super
ask you this, man.
cheesy.
Seriously, her dialogue. Did you really like her dialogue?
No, not really. I not really. No, but you know what? I don't think her dialogue was particularly well written, but for God's sakes, it was way better than the sexual innuendo puns we got from the episode that shall not be named.
Okay. Anyway, so then we go to GWB, which you can imagine what that's.
Oh, this was delightful. I
Okay,
was. This was like some Paul Rugg shit right here.
you know what's funny about that? Okay, Paul Dini, he came up with this was his idea. This was his pitch. This little promo show.
Uh huh.
All the promos were Dini ads, which are great and they're hilarious. So yeah, so basically we're at the GWB Gotham World Broadcast. Yeah, it's Gotham World Broadcasting. That's what it stands for. Of course, a little nod to the WB. Just them making fun of the formers of the CW. The what was it? Oh yeah, it was just the WB. It's what they used to call it.
WB, yeah.
Yeah, which anyway,
WWWB.
right. So anyway, so this is the
Then of course UPN as well.
certainly. So this is the festival for their fall lineup of promos and shows, and pretty much the CW today, but even worse back then. And they're doing like this is probably like a nod to Star Trek: The Next Generation at the time in the '90s. So we're having like a little Star Trek set is kind of the one they're mainly operating on right now. Throwing a little party, you have like all the sci-fi kind of get-ups and everything. Again, so Dini, a lot of writing all these promo gags as they look in. Basically, the theme is look into the future. Again, the young audience kind of demographic, all the YA generation skewed programming.
Okay, so I just fucking love the fact that every one of these show titles is just like a total dad joke pun.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have, and also again, great barbs of what they did on the on the WB and the CW. It's just like model students. So we have model students, which hits.
You just see like these three girls, and the one in the middle is just sobbing hysterically on a college campus.
This is such a barb at that CW type shit. Out of now, like it's who you are on the inside that counts. This is the most biting. This is what I'm saying.
Oh
Calendar Girl's dialogue looks so terrible in comparison to this.
So what if you weren't picked for the swimsuit issue?
God. And also a little bit of there's a bit of a Powerpuff Girls nod in that too. If you really look at them, their hairstyles and everything looks a little bit like the Powerpuff Girls. I don't know how intentional that is, or if it's just surely coincidental. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
All right, then we have I think the funniest one. We have
Teen Cop. Oh my god!
I still laugh so hard at Teen.
This also feels like something that would happen at the time, Dragon. It really does.
Like you remember Cop Rock, don't you?
Oh, it's funny that you mentioned Cop Rock because I actually just listened to a podcast that brought up Cop Rock, and it's the first time I'd heard of it.
Cop Rock.
So yeah, I am recently familiar with Cop Rock.
Even Tom Hanks watched Cop Rock. All right, so we have basically the inner city street drama with a fresh attitude. Education rules. It's basically like this teen. It's like a teen on a skateboard with a badge. He's like, hey, he's friendly with the police. Education rules.
Oh my god.
Oh god. And then we have
I just want to point out that the guy who voiced Teen Cop is named Bumper Robinson.
Yeah, it's him.
And I just think that that's just a delightful name of a voice actor of such an absurd character.
Well, if I'm right, I'm pretty sure Bumper Robinson was the guy who played Mr. T. Well, he played, B.A. Baracus, aka Mr. T from the A-Team in the remake, in the A-Team remake.
Oh, okay, that sounds right. I just I don't know. The name Bumper is fun.
Him like 15 years ago. I wonder how young he was during that.
All right, and Malibu Vets, the heartwarming adventures of a group of young, beach-going veterinarians.
God, so again, all these shows are just genius and hilarious. And this is what I'm saying. This compared to Calendar Girls' dialogue, like this was brilliant. Calendar Girls' dialogue, yeah. Speaking of which, the Calendar Girl interrupts the program for some real entertainment, she says, and then we have a giant fan that she brings in.
This is my favorite of the seasonal gimmicks, by the way.
I agree with you. I love like the whole like she has the little candy corn earrings and everything. She's dressed in orange. She has like the pumpkin bombs. Like that's awesome.
And just the wind machine, the giant fan and the leaves and everything. It's like you want fall, I'll give you fall.
Oh yeah. Also, again, the second time we've seen a giant fan in Batman the Animated Series. Remember, Mask of the Phantasm. How about a little pick-me-up? These are the giant turbines, like a giant fan. All right, so again, she's built in with the MO and kind of the theme distraction. I like the MO being built up here. Each heist is pretty much the same deal. Okay, we have the theme distraction. In this case, giant fan. We nab the person who let her go, and this guy in this case is the guy leading all the programming and the charges. The guy who basically we armed Batman with some information at Batcave scene. Is that okay? She got axed off a show. Well, with the agency, and I should say. We learned she was axed off. Therefore, the network is her next target, and that's where we are here. Frederick Fortinier, I believe his name is. All right. So yes, Frederick's getting kidnapped here. He goes for like the phaser as a gun, which does not work out. Oh, don't tell me, Frederick, you don't tell me you're buying into your own press. Yeah. All right. Let's see. She uses the candy corn earrings, which are stylish and deadly.
I'm not going to be able to get through this scene without quoting this at least once. Candy corn! I'm sorry, I had to get it out of my system.
Right. Right.
Anyways.
So as she wields the pumpkin bomb, just throwing that sort of stuff around, the Batmobile enters, crashes through. What's Hollywood without a couple, without some costumed clowns, some costumed clowns, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, basically give chase onto a film lot. What happens?
Yeah, so she kind of uses the smoke bomb as a bit of a distraction, and yeah, they chase him onto a film lot, and then let's see, she kind of like rises up. In kind of like what do you call it? A cinematographer's chair, Dragon? The big chair that kind of has the crane on it.
I mean, classically, we've kind of seen, like, in the olden days, especially, you had directors sometimes in that chair with the camera, so it's like a cherry picker, sort of like, I mean, cinematographer is probably a more accurate term. Yeah, it's like kind of a camera, kind of
All right, so oh god, Dragon, Jesus Christ. So this is both the best and worst scene in the episode.
Yeah, now this is the consensus, by the way, in that you either like the dinosaur or you don't like it.
Okay, here's the thing. You know me. How can I say no to Batman fighting a dinosaur? How can I say no to it? But, big but here, it has next to nothing to do with the episode. How is it an animatronic? I don't know. It goes on for way too long. Yeah, like I said, conceptually, it's by far the coolest thing in the episode by a country mile, but in execution, it's probably the weakest scene in the episode.
Yeah, so of course, Spielbergian death trap with a giant mechanical dinosaur that basically is like a step above what Spielberg did in Jurassic
Okay, here's the thing about the giant, mechanical my ass, Dragon. Like, we still don't have animatronics that are anywhere close to this level of movement. This thing does not even remotely look animatronic. That's what bothers me.
Yeah. Yep. All right, so also we have like a line from Calendar Girl too about the dinosaurs are dead. They've been dead for millions.
How? Just how? How was she able to come across this?
I'm with you. We just have this ridiculously well-made effects dinosaur that's attacking. Oh god. I do like her in like that director chair kind of like dolly thing. That's really that's kind of neat though. But yeah, so of course like it's just like So obviously the reason, if you're wondering why we have a dinosaur though, it's because it's kind of a nod to the dinosaur in the Batcave. That's the main reason of all things, and it's also at this time. It's funny in both Superman the Animated Series and Batman, they both fought giant mechanical dinosaurs. So they must have really liked doing that in the Superman episode. So they kind of let's put in the Batman episode. He's got a dinosaur in the Batcave. Why not?
Oh God, remember the dinosaur theme park in Hey Arnold? Wasn't that cool?
Yeah, but we just called Dino Land, wasn't that it?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was yeah.
I'm sorry, there's no real reason for me to bring that up, just conceptually, that was really neat.
Yeah, and by the way, it's always kind of a question because late in Justice League, Batman does have the dinosaur in the Batcave, but it's probably technically it's not even this dinosaur, so it's completely wasted exercise
Right,
because he breaks it in
right,
the end.
yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of headcanon whether you just take it at face value, like he refurbished it and kept it in the Batcave, or there's a tie-in comic about this really sweet story with him and Dick Grayson where Robin's the reason he kept trophies in the Batcave, and when he went off as Nightwing, he put the dinosaur in his loft. It's like a little nod to it. Was a really cute little story.
Mhm.
But anyway,
So basically, Dragon, this whole thing, I feel like, is kind of like the definition of the whole like yada yada and I do of like, well, and they fight and they
mhm. Right.
fight.
Yeah, like Batgirl saves Batman's bacon when he's cornered by grabbing the dinosaur. It's kind of a cool bit.
I
Eventually,
like even I like I think the concept for this fight is fucking amazing, but even I think it goes on for a little too
it
long.
does, and you're right, Tig. The Universal, and that I think that was another thing kind of hurts the episode too, is that we wasted any additional stuff that one with Calendar Girl kind of got burned up in the dinosaur
Yeah,
sequence.
no, totally. I was feeling that.
And I think they're a little TMS blinded, where it was like kind of a we don't care that kind of maybe went on too long. Like TMS is in the house, man. They can animate an awesome dinosaur chase, but wait a minute, why would the dinosaur? It's a prop dinosaur. Who cares? It's awesome. Okay. All right. And again, we're trying to basically.
If it had more stilted movement, I actually would have taken it more seriously. You know what I mean?
I hear you. Yeah. And
Anyways,
one last thing with it too is that it's sort of like we're trying to legitimize '60s Batman with basically a '60s Batman moment with a budget. It's like, okay, what if we took kind of like the fake animals that Batman would fight sometimes, but we made it like giant and imposing, gave like a Hollywood budget.
I mean, like I said, Dragon, I'm not like aesthetically, it's awesome. I'm not gonna lie. There's aesthetically and conceptually, there is nothing about this I don't like.
All right,
I
so
think the only thing about it that I really, besides the logistics of it all, the one thing that drags it down is the sheer runtime of it.
So after a long sequence of battling the dinosaur, eventually Batman grapples onto like this giant wall of lights and brings it down, destroying the dinosaur. And we find the next clue: as Counter Girl fled, she left October 27th. So we have this great, one of the awesome dissolves, by the way, where we have Batman kind of standing there as we just fade to Bruce Wayne standing in his office, and then we have probably my favorite scene in the episode. Really nice moment where Bernie Benson's coming in, to hand in his report in person early so he can, kind of go to his retirement dinner.
Uh-huh.
And meanwhile, Bruce is on the phone with Batgirl, basically gets the lead on basically where she's holding up that Paige Monroe owns the deed to the Faces Club. Anyway, so as basically Bruce now has his lead, he's about to leave, and he exits, and he tells Bernie, "Oh, by the way, Bernie, I won't be attending your dinner tonight." He says, "Oh yeah, I understand. So you're really busy." Nice guy. I really like this Bernie guy, don't you?
Yeah.
So, and also I've decided to cancel it. Can't what? He's like, "Oh God, Bruce Wayne hates me now. What did I do? I just turned 65." So we have a wonderful moment where Bruce Wayne says, "I'm canceling the policy. You can work here as long as you can do the job." So it's a nice correlation between the main plot that he's learning from what Counter Girl's experience, learning from what the villain's motivation is, and it's nice to see Bruce Wayne kind of like treating his employees all nicey nice.
Sure.
And of course, I think he says yes, and Private tosses the toupee up in the air. Yeah. All right. So third act, revenge plot, Tiki. Take
All right, so Paige is having a slideshow.
You don't like the movie? I've got slides.
Who wants to see vacation photos? All right. Anyways, in all seriousness,
Because our big revenge is at hand here in kind of the winter month, as you would. So she's doing the big villain monologue as she's putting a little slideshow, Paige Monroe in her glory days.
Yep.
About how she used to be the face. And basically, she tried to get her career back for 10 years. She tried to get her career back for 10 years and went through all the sorts of. And this is really horrific when she talks about, like, she went through starvation and surgeries. And then we have this white. I love her hearing her give her revenge plan. And in this white panel in the bunch of slides of her, she then cuts through the panel and walks through the screen.
Okay, I am going to level with you. I think Scythe is a little silly.
Well, yeah, you're not crazy about the holiday in question here, are you?
No, I don't mind the holiday in question. I mean, I think it's a random holiday to end on. Like, if you're going to do, like, the whole calendar year, like, logically you would think you'd end on Christmas, but I think, like, it's cool. I don't mind it. Like, I think it's a little cheesy, like, oh, the Day of the Dead because you're gonna die.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a bit of a lie, right? It's I mean, November. Yes. No, when is like the first day of winter? Do you think? That's in December.
I mean, it certainly is like a lot of build up for not a huge amount of payoff when it comes to the actual calendar gimmick.
Yeah, I mean, no. To be fair, actually, yeah, winter is in November, but it's like that early in November. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That's still kind of fall territory. I don't know. I think she cheated on that, which kind of takes away from.
As far as I'm concerned, Thanksgiving is the beginning of winter.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's absolutely exactly. But like Day of the Dead, that's still kind of fall with the marigolds and the leaves, and
Right.
I don't know. Anyway, so point being, she's about to exact her revenge. Big old scary Scythe, because she's gonna kill him.
I just think the Scythe looks silly, Dragon. Like I said, it has, like, the Day of the Dead thing is kind of stupid and, like, anticlimactic, but at the end of the day, I really just think the Scythe looks stupid.
Yeah, honestly,
that's my main problem with it.
Act 3 in total, with the exception of her arrest, I feel the action, given how well TMS did lead up to it.
I feel like this episode was pretty terrific leading up to the T-Rex fight, and then after that it kind of goes off the rails a little bit until the end.
I'm with you. So there's a moment I'm just like throwing my hands up in the air in this third act. Okay, so basically Batman enters, throws a batarang to save their bacon, with the scythe and everything. So now Batman's, Batman, Batgirl, they're on the scene. Let's see. One holiday left to celebrate. Sorry, went through that. I also want to point out here. So here's the thing. I'm kind of before I get into the really deceleration of the action here. At this point, just you sympathize with the struggle, do you not?
Oh yeah, absolutely, sure.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, it was kind of initially. It was always like it didn't land because it wasn't as fun to watch. Like her personality didn't quite pop, and the backstory is great. I want to be clear. Every time I do love the backstory is great, learning about what happened to her, and of course the ending. But it was always that she just because of that kind of bump in the dialogue, just like she wasn't that fun to watch. It's like her gimmick and her background was fun, but it's like every time she's all like these really stilted like seasonal puns. That's all she's got.
Again, I think that it's still better than the last pun-based villain we got.
Honestly, T, going this, I don't know. I'm kind of. It's like, I mean, to the point where Roxy lands more for me than she does for you. It's not great, I admit.
But the thing about it is that I feel like with Paige, at the very least, there's a ton more substance to it.
Yeah.
Like, conceptually, you know what I mean?
I hear. That's why, again, it's kind of a toss-up.
Like Roxy, to me, is such a huge, like, nothing burger of a character, just, on a conceptual level.
Yep. Anyway, so point being, at this point, so Batman comes in. We have this cool idea of the projector as an element to the scene, which is cool. But we still have a really dumb moment where within this fight, Batman's on the ropes with her while she's swinging this scythe of Batman. She splits a chair. He tosses a chair at her, which is cool. I love him tossing that chair at her, that half a chair. But the projector catches fire. Then we have this really stupid moment where Batman, world's greatest detective, man who spent years of training, he stumbles on a chair on the floor, like he just kind of falls. it must be my lucky day. Like, yeah, well, she's calling out how dumb this writing is right now. How is he falling right now?
Right.
And then she's defeated by seeing her face kind of like go up in flames on the screen because the projector's caught fire, which
Which
is a
I
real
think metaphorically works, but
yeah.
it's a little abrupt.
It's like Batman didn't do anything in that fight. Really,
Yeah,
it's just
yeah,
like
I
the
hear you. I
projector
hear
did all the work. I mean, it's a cool idea, but couldn't we at least have Batman throw the battering at the projector or something? Like, come on. Oh, it's like, I don't know. I like her psychologically getting defeated there, but it's just, Anyway, so then she gets kicked and Bola wrapped, and then it's over. Then we have the important scene.
Yes, so Bullock, she's all handcuffed. Bullock's, he's like, you read her rights. Well, it doesn't include this. Takes off her mask. Dragon, she screams, man. I mean, the emotion in this is real. Like, it's pretty damn haunting. Like, no, don't look at me, please, please. And we see her face reflected in the glass on the ground, which is a fucking great touch. And yeah, like I expected, she's just like an average, like way above average looking 40-year-old, very attractive looking 40-year-old.
Yeah.
But she can't see that, and that is, Dragon. Again, I hate to keep coming back to the Twilight Zone, but it is one of my all-time favorite Twilight Zone episodes. The one where you see the main characters in the hospital bed the whole time, and their faces covered in bandages, and the people who are, the people are basically like, coming in and saying like, oh, your face was horribly disfigured in an accident. And then at the end, she takes off the bandages and she's just an average looking human, but she's like screaming in agony over it. It's like, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So I definitely think that must have been an inspiration for this. It's too similar for it not to have been.
Well, let me tell you where the idea came from. So Bruce Timm, this was a note from originally they were going to have, the episode was originally going to have her, with like plastic surgery scars on her face. But Bruce Timm had an idea. And of course, Bruce Timm being the huge Jack Kirby fan he went for one of the most famous versions of this scene, which is one of the most awesome ideas in comics ever. It was always speculated, and there's like this one story where Dr. Doom, he removed his mask, and he always wore the mask and everything because he was disfigured in an accident, and that's the way it usually went. But there's this one story that posited the idea: what if, when Dr. Doom takes off the mask, he just has like a little scratch, like a tiny little scratch on his face, but his vanity always made him feel like he was deformed and everything? What if all the damage was like one little scratch on his face? So that's kind of where Bruce Timm, he kind of put in there, what if we just didn't have her deformed or anything? It's kind of a little nod to that.
Okay, gotcha.
There's always like a Twilight Zone aesthetic. So I'm saying in terms of how to play that scene, they probably looked at Twilight Zone. But I'm saying the idea, that's straight Dr. Doom.
Okay.
So Batgirl says, I'm sorry, the last line of the thing too is that Batgirl says she's beautiful. Then Batman's coming in with the cold, harsh reality of like, she can't see that anymore. All she sees are the flaws. And then we have that great like visual there of like her in the reflection. And they decided to end it there because originally we were going to see her go to prison, like go to Arkham, I guess, and have a little calendar page marked for her revenge, which I thought it was a better. They made.
Oh my god, I'm so glad they didn't do that because this ending is so much more effective.
Yeah, they made a good call there. Okay, that's the episode. Yeah.
Yeah, final thoughts, right? I don't know what to tell you, buddy. I think this is a pretty damn solid episode. I mean, I think you and I are pretty simpatico on the fact that, like, the T-Rex fight and some of the Act 3 stuff is probably the weak point. But, I mean, even then, it's like, when Dragon, I just want to emphasize this, all right? I just want to, let's just take a moment and just breathe in how cool this is. Again, the weak point of this episode is Batman fighting a T-Rex. The weak point of it. So that's all you need to know. I mean, I think that this is a pretty damn solid episode. I think it's yet another hidden gem in season 4, and I continue to be impressed by some of the thematic elements of season 4.
Yeah, final thoughts for me. Look, I mean, I did find a lot more to like on the rewatch. I mean, my original views, I always had, like, I saw missed potential in the episode, and that, like, the gimmick wasn't as cool as all the stuff you could do with Calendar Man. I always loved the Wayne Enterprises subplot more than the Calendar Girl stuff. And I mean, going back to it, just kind of talking through it as we have here, again, obviously Dinosaur being just the universal sticking point. Outside of that, it's cool. Doesn't really have anything to do with the episode, but it's cool. But I mean, honestly, for me, it still boils down to Calendar Girl herself. Like Paige Monroe was the interesting part of the episode. Paige Monroe is the fascinating part of the episode, and the aesthetic of Calendar Girl and how she operates, and like the plot, the MO, that's all working for the episode. Plot wise, I got to admit, going back to it, plot wise, things work a lot better than I remember. But still, character wise, just Calendar Girl, like, in operation, just no charisma, no real kind of memorable sticking point. Because that was always my thing ages ago when I watched the episode for the first time. I wouldn't go back to this outside of that ending, because the ending was the most memorable part of the episode for me. That and a little bit of that Wayne Enterprises stuff, because there was no charisma, there's no personality, just the eyes of March. Like, it's really lame, it's lame calendar lines. But again, I'll admit, there's a lot more here than I thought. Sure, I mean, it's a lot. It's kind of fun to go back and say, you know what, Calendar Girl, I judged it harshly in the past. I'll come higher up on my opinion of the episode. I really, yeah, I was young, I was foolish, and again, that's what the episode's about. The arrogance of youth.
The arrogance of youth.
Yes.
All right. So, Dragon, the next one, it sounds fucking crazy, and I'm legitimately looking forward to it. So go ahead and tease it up.
American Gothic in Gotham. Bullock in Deliverance. An Odyssey of Oddities and Puns. Ken the Batman foil Farmer Brown and his horticultural horror show. Before the mutant cows come home. Tune in next time to find out. Same animated bat time, same animated bat play. Sweet!
On the next visit to the animated bat cave with Critters.
Irv.